What if the reason you haven't grown financially isn't a lack of skill, but a fear of visibility? What if deep down you don't actually fear losing money? You fear being seen with it, seen earning more, seen wanting more, seen becoming more? Because the moment you stand out financially, something changes. People notice, people compare, people interpret, and whether you admit it or not, that changes you. Pause for a second. If your income doubled this year, who would feel uncomfortable? And would their discomfort make you shrink? That's where this begins. Most people believe financial limitation is about knowledge, or opportunity, or discipline. But there's a quieter force operating underneath all of it. The desire to remain socially acceptable, to remain relatable, to remain safe inside the invisible boundaries of your environment. Standing out financially disrupts those boundaries, and disruption creates tension. From an evolutionary perspective, visibility meant risk. Standing out from the group meant exposure. Exposure meant vulnerability. Our nervous system still carries that wiring. So when your success begins to differentiate you too sharply from those around you, your brain interprets it as social threat. Not physical threat, but social threat. Rejection, isolation, envy, judgment, and the body reacts similarly. Tightness, hesitation, second guessing. You begin to regulate yourself. Notice how subtle this is. You don't consciously decide to earn less. You don't openly reject opportunity. Instead, you delay decisions. You underprice yourself. You avoid bold conversations about money. You decline calculated risks. You rationalize caution as wisdom. But underneath it all, there is a quiet question. If I succeed too much, will I still belong? Belonging is powerful, more powerful than ambition for most people. Consider how early money narratives shape this fear. If you grew up in an environment where financial success was rare, visible wealth may have been associated with arrogance, or exploitation, or betrayal of one's roots. So when you begin to approach financial expansion, old associations activate. People like us don't act like that. Don't forget where you came from. Money changes people, and maybe it does. But what if the real fear isn't that money changes you? It's that it changes how others see you. Financial visibility alters dynamics within families, within friendships, within professional circles. When you earn more, power shifts, expectations shift, even conversations shift, and those shifts can feel destabilizing. So rather than navigate that complexity, many people unconsciously cap their growth, not dramatically, just enough to remain comfortably similar. Similarity maintains harmony, difference creates hierarchy, and hierarchy makes people uneasy. There is also the pressure of expectation. Once you stand out financially, the standard rises. If you build one successful venture, the next must match it. If you earn significantly more, people expect consistent performance. Average allows room for inconsistency. Standing out demands consistency, and consistency feels heavy. So people protect themselves by avoiding the spotlight altogether. They remain capable, but controlled. Another hidden layer is envy. Not just others' envy toward you, but your anticipation of it. Humans are deeply sensitive to social tension. We can detect subtle shifts in tone, in body language, in conversation. And when we anticipate those shifts, we adjust preemptively. We tone down achievements. We minimize progress. We downplay ambition. Not because we lack pride, but because we want peace. And peace feels more immediately rewarding than expansion. There's an interesting paradox here. Many people claim they want financial freedom, but financial freedom makes you more visible, more autonomous, less dependent on group norms. And autonomy can be threatening, not just to others, but to you, because autonomy means full responsibility. When you stand out financially, you can no longer blame circumstances as easily. Your decisions carry more weight, your influence increases, your mistakes feel larger. Standing out magnifies everything, and magnification is intimidating. Over time, this fear shapes identity. You begin to see yourself as balanced, not obsessed with money, Different from those ambitious types. And again, those identities feel mature, even admirable, but sometimes they mask avoidance. Avoidance of scrutiny, avoidance of tension, avoidance of the discomfort that visibility brings. Let's examine the long-term consequence. If every time you approach financial distinction, you subconsciously soften your trajectory, you build a pattern of near breakthroughs, near promotions, near scaling, near compounding, always close, never fully committed. And over years, that pattern solidifies into a life that looks respectable, but not remarkable, comfortable, but not expansive. The cost isn't obvious at first, it accumulates quietly. There's also the matter of identity loyalty. If your social circle defines success within a certain narrow range, exceeding that range feels like betrayal. Even if no one explicitly says it, you sense it. And humans are deeply loyal to the environments that shape them. So instead of surpassing the invisible ceiling, you align with it. Because surpassing it would mean outgrowing it. And outgrowing environments can feel like loss. Loss of shared experience, loss of familiarity, loss of mutual understanding. Growth sometimes requires grief, and most people avoid grief. Here's a reflective question. If success guaranteed isolation for a season, would you still pursue it, or would you unconsciously choose stability? That answer reveals your relationship with visibility. Because standing out financially is rarely neutral. It redefines how people categorize you, and categorization changes interaction. Notice something else. The fear of standing out financially often disguises itself as humility. I don't need to make that much. I'm fine where I am. I don't want attention. There is nothing wrong with genuine contentment, but there is a difference between contentment and contraction. Contentment feels peaceful, contraction feels tense. If you feel tension when imagining financial expansion, that tension deserves examination, not suppression. We also underestimate how much social media amplifies this fear. Visibility today is not local, it is global. Financial success can be broadcast instantly, which means comparison multiplies, criticism multiplies, interpretation multiplies. So the brain concludes, better to remain moderately successful and invisible than highly successful and exposed. But invisibility has its own cost. It limits influence, impact, opportunity. Standing out financially is not just about wealth, it's about leverage, and leverage changes scale. What's particularly dangerous is how rational this fear can sound. You tell yourself you're minimizing stress, avoiding ego, maintaining simplicity. But deep down, there may be a quiet resistance to being seen differently. And being seen differently is the gateway to transformation. Because transformation always disrupts social equilibrium. The deeper question becomes this: who are you protecting by staying financially similar? Is it your family, your peers, your former self? Sometimes we protect old versions of ourselves by limiting new ones. We don't want to feel disconnected from who we were, but growth requires some disconnection. It requires tolerating temporary misalignment, and that tolerance is rare. In the long run, the fear of standing out financially does not destroy potential dramatically. It erodes it gradually. It keeps you circling within a safe bandwidth, never collapsing, never expanding. And decades later, that safe bandwidth feels permanent, not because it had to be, but because it was never challenged fully. So here's the quiet reflection. If you remove the fear of judgment, if you remove the fear of envy, if you remove the fear of being categorized differently, how different would your financial decisions be? Would you negotiate more boldly, invest more strategically, build more aggressively? The gap between your current behavior and that imagined behavior is the cost of your fear. Standing out financially is not about arrogance. It is about accepting visibility, accepting differentiation, accepting the reality that growth alters relationships, and deciding whether that alteration is worth it. Most people never consciously decide. They default, they regulate, they shrink just enough to stay comfortable, and comfort becomes their ceiling. The fear of standing out financially is rarely spoken. It operates silently, but it may be shaping more of your decisions than you realize. Because at the end of the day, You are not just building wealth, you are redefining your position in the social structure around you. And that redefinition demands courage, not loud courage, quiet courage, the courage to tolerate being perceived differently, the courage to outgrow environments without resentment, the courage to accept that expansion and belonging do not always move together. The question is simple. Are you limiting your financial growth to protect your social comfort? And if you are, how long are you willing to pay that price? Because eventually, the discomfort of being seen may be smaller than the regret of never becoming visible at all.